Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, Should You Reconnect with People from Your Past? This is a question that's been circling in my head a lot lately, and I don't think I'm the only one who's been there. You know that moment. You're scrolling through old messages or maybe just lying awake at night, and suddenly a name drifts into your mind. Someone you used to be close with, and you start wondering, should I reach out? Maybe it's been 3-4 years. Maybe it's only been one. Time feels strange when it comes to old relationships. Sometimes it stretches so long you can't believe it's been that many birthdays missed. Other times it contracts in an instant, and you're flooded with memories as if no time has passed at all. Some of those memories are beautiful. Laughs shared over late-night texts. Random calls just to check in. The kind of connection that made you feel seen. But not all memories sit that sweetly. Sometimes the story ended with bitterness. A fight, a misunderstanding, or a slow unraveling that neither of you knew how to stop. And yet, there's still a pull. That quiet nudge in your chest whispering, should I say something? Apologize? Ask how they're doing? Other times the ending was clean. No drama, no betrayal. Just life doing what it does best. Getting in the way. Things faded because we let them. So now you're left with this quiet question. Should I try to reconnect? Will it be worth the vulnerability? The risk? Will it feel like opening a door to a home that no longer belongs to you? That's why I called this reflection, Should You? Because it's not a question with a straightforward answer. It's layered with personal history, context, and all the silent things left unsaid. People have wildly different takes. Some will swear by the idea that it's foolish to revisit the past. They'll tell you, let sleeping dogs lie, or don't go digging into graves. Their logic is this: you moved on for a reason, so don't go re-inviting chaos into a life that finally feels steady. Others will argue just as passionately the other way. Life is short. Don't let pride or fear keep you from a connection that once mattered. They believe in second chances, in redemption, in the power of time to soften old wounds. And here's the honest truth. You won't really know what side you stand on until you try. All the what-ifs in the world can't match the clarity of actual experience. So what's the worst that could happen? You reach out and get no response, or they respond with polite distance, or worse, indifference. That stings, but will it undo you? Probably not. You've already lived without this person in your life. You'll survive again. That said, rejection, especially emotional rejection, isn't something to dismiss lightly. For some people, hearing no or being met with radio silence cuts deeper than they let on. Maybe that's because they weren't just hoping to reconnect. They were hoping to reclaim a piece of themselves that felt whole back then. Sometimes we're not even missing the person. We're missing who we were with them. The comfort, the safety, the feeling of being understood without having to explain so much. And when that hope isn't fulfilled, it can be devastating. It can pull you backward into places you've worked hard to outgrow. Reaching out then becomes more than an act of vulnerability. It becomes a test of emotional resilience. It's not easy hearing someone say, in so many words or just through silence, I don't miss you the way you miss me. Still, if you zoom out for a moment, sometimes the worst-case scenario isn't as catastrophic as it feels. If that relationship didn't work back then, maybe it wasn't meant to endure. Maybe it served its purpose, taught you something, supported you through a chapter, then left when its time was up. But if you don't try, you'll never know for sure. I've been in that exact position. I've reached out, sometimes nervously, sometimes impulsively. A few times it blossomed into a renewed friendship or a soft closure that brought peace. Other times, we slipped right back into the same loop of miscommunication or emotional distance, or they'd disappear again. And each time that happened, I had to sit with the disappointment and ask myself, what did I expect? Eventually, you begin to see patterns. If you've reached out several times and the connection keeps unraveling or stagnating, maybe that's the pattern speaking louder than your intentions. At some point, repeated failure becomes an answer in itself. That doesn't mean you were wrong for trying. It just means there's nothing more to be built there. Holding on becomes heavier than letting go. That's especially true when we idealize the past. Time has a strange way of blurring sharp edges. We remember the fun memories, the warmth, the shared dreams, but forget the exhaustion, the emotional toll, the subtle ways we were constantly let down. Before reaching out, you have to ask, why did we stop talking? Was it mutual neglect? Or did they take more than they gave? Were they emotionally safe? If there was toxicity, control, or emotional inconsistency, trying to rekindle that is like reopening a wound just because the scar doesn't look fresh anymore. But if the separation wasn't rooted in damage, if it was just life and timing, then there's something gentle in seeing what could grow now. Maybe this is the right season for it. Maybe they've grown, and so have you. I've seen that happen too. Sometimes all it takes is one message, one olive branch, to rebuild something strong and beautiful. There's no universal answer, though. I think about that Steve Harvey segment a lot. A woman asked him if she should reach out to someone from her past, and the reactions were split right down the middle. Some urged her to let it go. Others said she should follow her heart. The takeaway? It truly depends on the people, the history, the emotional labor required. Some relationships are worth fighting for. Others are better honored from a distance. So here's what I've learned to ask myself, and what I gently offer to you too. Are you okay with how it might turn out? If they don't reply, will you regret reaching out? Or will you feel proud for having the courage to speak your truth? If they do reply but the conversation feels hollow, can you accept that? Will that be enough of a resolution? And if they respond, enthusiastically, warmly, and things bloom again, what boundaries will you carry with you this time? What lessons did the first ending teach you? If you're grounded enough to handle those outcomes, there's no harm in trying. A message doesn't cost much, but it can mean everything. Just make sure it's not tied to a fantasy, only to a willingness to connect with who that person truly is now, not who they were in your memory. And if you reach out and the door doesn't open, if you're met with silence or worse, familiar pain, let that be a release, not a defeat. You tried. You honored your feelings, and you let clarity in. Not every relationship is meant to survive. That doesn't make it any less real or meaningful. Some are just meant to teach you something important and then gently fade away. The most vital piece is this: be honest with yourself about what you want and whether that person is capable of showing up the way you need. If they aren't, bless the memory. Let it go and carry on with grace. The past may have shaped you, but your future deserves your full attention. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out, have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.